Hello, I'm Richard Vobes, the Bald Explorer, and I'm continuing my Sussex border walk. Today I'm in East Preston. Now I know what you're thinking, wait a minute, I thought you were going to Ferring and then Kingston Gorse. Well, as I mentioned at the end of the last video, I've actually done walks through Ferring and Kingston Gorse, and actually a little walk in East Preston as well. I didn't want to repeat myself, so I've decided the best thing to do is to pick up really from East Preston and continue westwards to Rustington, Littlehampton and beyond. But before I leave East Preston on this episode, I know that people have been in touch and said, you know, when you went here the last time you missed out so many interesting things. I don't want to do that. I'd like to show a little bit of it, but obviously like any place you can't show everything. Also, I don't know everything, so I've just selected a few things which piqued my interest and I hope you enjoy them. So we'll get off the beach, we'll head up to town and see what we see. Come on. In the last video that I did in East Preston with the lovely Julia, we ended up here in the park, which all looks very nice. We didn't really travel very much further north, which is what I'm planning to do today. When you look on old maps, and I love the old maps as you know, and I'm interested in this walk particularly in a lot of the development that has happened in the last 100 years or so, the changes and what still is here from that period. And when you look on old maps, this area particularly in East Preston, just like Worthing, was full of glass houses and market gardens, lots of farms and a lot of open land. Now, of course, since the 20th century, the early 20th century, the desire to be close to the sea, a lot of houses, new houses, have sprung up, and it's all those market gardens and the remnants of the farms. They're here, but the rest of the place is infilled with houses. So one of the first places I've come to is in Manor Road, and this takes you right back to the early days of motoring. Absolutely fantastic. I'm amazed I missed this. This is Manor Road Garage. And look at this, it's beautifully restored. A wonderful Art Deco fronted property here, and petrol pumps on the front there. Aren't they amazing? So as far as I understand, the building came about in about 1919 at the end of the First World War, and what we see is a sort of representation of three different periods of that early motoring. It was, I think, extended and rebuilt in 1934, and the pumps that we see at the front there, they are, I think they're sort of late 1930s, early 1940s pumps, but they're just wonderful. It's so beautiful to see, and it's a gem. So in the early days you would come and fill up your car at the front, and if you needed repairs you would go to the back at the rear. Looks like they're getting ready for Christmas. Well, I'm filming at the beginning of December, so it's not surprising. Right, I am now walking northwards again, back on Sea Lane. I think it's Sea Lane or Sea Road, Sea Lane I'm pretty sure. and I'm heading up to my next place of interest. But what is interesting as I do this, and I hadn't expected this, is we go past this rather lovely old farm, and you've got this thatched cottage here looking absolutely beautiful, and then what appears to be a barn coming up, a threshing barn, and you can tell it's a threshing barn because it's got the open entrance right the way through the middle, and I believe it's now East Preston Village Hall. So absolutely brilliant that it's being used for something else, but it just goes to show, let that lorry go thundering through, that this whole area was indeed rather beautiful farmland. So it looks like the village hall has, not only as part of the old farm, but this long building must have been adapted, because there's a plaque on the side there that says it was the old rifle range set up in 1931. So I guess even then there was a bit of practice going on, maybe the advent of the war or just sports. That's the Warren Sports Ground, so maybe it was just sports. Just going a little further up here, lots of interesting properties to look at, but there's one more on this part of this road that I want to have a quick peer at. And here we go. This, which now looks like an estate agent's, it seems to me on old maps was the old school, or one of. Beautiful flint building with a slate roof. And this seems to be the other side. Changed a lot now. Interesting to know what it looked like back in its day. Right, further north. I don't know if you can make that out on the building behind me. That one, very old. It's got inset within the brickwork the date 1670, and then above it, it looks like the initials HMI. Absolutely amazing. Napped flint work on the side, brickwork at the ends, and presumably would have been a thatched roof. Absolutely incredible. And it's still here, and it looks, actually if I move this way, it looks like a little terrace of cottages now, probably farm workers' buildings. And just look at those tiny windows up the top there with the leaded lights. Absolutely brilliant. Just goes to show this is quite an old part of the village. So I'm carrying on with my walk, but I'm going to turn left in a second. We're past the village stores here, and then we get to the East Preston and Kingston British Royal Legion Club. And originally that was the Three Crowns pub, and it's marked on old maps as a pub, and it was a pub working beautifully, I say beautifully, working well until 1950, I think, or the early 50s, and then it changed into these hands, and it's now there like social club and bar and what have you. I wonder if anybody out there remembers what it was like when it was a pub. And bang opposite is this beautiful property, very Georgian looking Preston cottage with its wonderful symmetry of windows and the 12 lights filling the window. Absolutely fantastic, and those regimental pebbles in the frontage. Love it. I'm working my way westwards now towards the church, which will be the last port of call on my video today, and I'm on the street in East Preston with the sun blinding me on this wonderful December day. I think the weather is going to descend into something more grim later on, but I'm pausing here by bay trees. There's so many properties one could have looked at, but this struck me as interesting on old maps, and it's been here for some time. It may look fairly nondescript from the outside, but there was a very famous author, very prolific author back at the end of the Victorian period called Mary Cecil Hay. She was born in the mid-Victorian period, and here is where she came down to East Worthing, a bit like East Preston, a bit like Richard Jefferies did, to just recover and have the sea air and all those things. But unfortunately, she died at 47, very young. But she was prolific, and some of her work is still available online, and you can look it up. And I was just talking by chance to the current owner. It's a care home now, but she told me that she's kept the original roof and all the original tiles when she moved here. And prior to moving in the 90s, I think it was, when she came here, it was a school. So an interesting property with an interesting history. Onwards to the church. I've arrived at St Mary's, and here it is. Beautiful church, right on the western perimeter of East Preston, really. And actually, when you look at old maps, there's not an immediate direct route from where I was in the street in the older part, but an old footpath. Obviously there are roads now. But as you can see, it's got this beautiful square tower made of flint, sandstone, and goodness knows what are on the edge. And it's crenellated at the top, but it used to have an old stone spire, and actually it was one of the few churches in West Sussex to have stone spires. It's no longer there. It was there until 1951. Quite what happened to it, I don't know. Maybe somebody remembers and can let me know or put them in the comments. That would be fascinating. I think it's a lovely looking church. It's 12th century, at least the early parts of it, and then other bits have been adapted. Nicholas Pevsner wasn't quite as nice about it. He mentions that the north aisle had been added heartlessly, which gave the interior and exterior a hard and characterless view. What did he know about old buildings? He does mention the old stone porch, however. And actually, when you look at the lich gate, that's rather beautiful too, with its Horsham stone roof. Anyway, that's my little look at East Preston, and I should be moving on, carrying on with my Sussex border walk. I hope you will join me on the next episode. Just past the coffin rest here. And don't forget to follow, like and subscribe, become a patron, support what I do. A little donation really helps. So thanks so much for watching this one, and I'll catch you on the next one. Till then, take care, bye bye for now, bye bye.